welcome to SAE Tomorrow Today, Unplugged. I'm your host, Grayson Brulte. On today's episode, we're diving into ADAS. Are consumers beginning to become comfortable with advanced versions of automated driving systems that allow them to take their hands off the wheel on long drives? I do it. I arrive relaxed. I feel like a different person. Go on a 3+ hour drive with advanced ADAS and not having to have your hands on the wheel? You actually surprisingly try it. You have more energy, you're more alert, and don't worry, you don't have to have 5 or 6 cups of coffee. You still get there because the system works. That's the conclusion that I'm starting to come to after my own personal experiences and after having dozens upon dozens of conversations with professional drivers. And there's data here, folks. This is SAE Unplugged, so we have data, and I'm reading reports from leading car manufacturers that validate what I found doing field work. There appears to be a trend, and that trend is heading towards, yes, I will say the term, relaxed driving. What's better than arriving to your destination relaxed and fully alert? I don't have data on this part, but perhaps your cognitive systems are more inclined to react if you're relaxed. Again, don't have data on it, but it is a possibility. When speaking with professional drivers who drive for a living, they feel they arrive at their destination with their passengers more attentive. I said it, no data again, and not as tired. I experienced that. Then they tell me that gives them a greater ability to drive the passenger back to their point of departure, or if you want to call it origin. Yes, I believe that. I've experienced it. It's a different experience. But it's not just the conversations that I've had with professional drivers. It's not just the experience that I had. Now we get into the fun part. Data. Yes, there is data. And this data comes from both Ford and GM that backs up this exact premise. On August 26, 2025, Ford released BlueCruise Mapped, a roundup of hands-free driving trends that they saw in 2024 across the U.S. from Ford and Lincoln owners. And in that report, there was some data that really stood out to me. Here's one I want to highlight here. This is interesting. In 2024, this is fiscal year 2024, the entire year, 365 days, Ford F-150 drivers logged 58 million miles. And what did that equivalent to? 826,000 hours of driving with BlueCruise activated. That's impressive. But you want to know what's even more impressive in that data? That was up 42% from 2023. That's right, folks. That was a 42% increase from 2023. It's showing the technology is growing and consumers are adapting it. Again, that goes back to the data. Is this a sign, perhaps, that advanced versions of automated driving systems appeal to professional drivers, as Ford F-150s are used a lot by professional drivers? Or could this be a sign that due to the pure market share of the Ford F-150, that would allow this vehicle to take the crown for the most miles driven and time spent using BlueCruise in 2024? That's right. Not the Ford Mach-E. The Ford F-150 had the most miles driven on BlueCruise. Well, I'll say this. Anything is possible. But back to the data again. We're going to have to wait until 2025 until the data set is released to see if we can identify a pattern. Perhaps then. And then we get the 26 data, the 27 data, perhaps even a bigger pattern with more data can emerge. But what we can identify today is that more Ford F-150 drivers using BlueCruise than Mach-E drivers. Is this a sign? Perhaps. But again, we're going to have to wait and see next year's data and the years after data. The really interesting thing to point out in Ford's data about the Ford F-150? Silence for a moment there. It is not only the Ford F-150, that's Ford's all-electric pickup. It's also the internal combustion engine Ford F-150. That's right, folks. The Ford F-150 drivers logged 58 million miles and over 826,000 hours of BlueCruise in 2024. That was both with the all-electric Ford F-150 Lightning and the internal combustion engine Ford F-150s. All forms of propulsion are using Ford BlueCruise, which ties directly into recently released data from Goldman Sachs that shows the pace of adoption of electric vehicles is slowing due to regulations. At the same time, hybrid sales are projected to increase. Goldman Sachs research now expects electric vehicles to be 25% of global sales in 2030, down from a previous forecast of 28%. a 3 percentage point decline. That leaves their 2030 forecast 7 percentage points below the current market consensus for the global electric vehicle market penetration as tracked by IHS Global Insight. Furthermore, the team at Goldman Sachs got their 2040 electric vehicle sales share to 52% from a previous forecast of 59%. Interesting data again. Why am I bringing up this data and highlighting the current state of the electric vehicle market? It's a very good question, and now here's the answer. To further validate what Ford is seeing in their data and what GM is seeing in their Super Cruise data, which we'll get to a bit later. The advancement of automated driving systems will not be exclusively available on electric vehicles. We could see data from Goldman that's going to tell us that. They'll be available on a range of vehicles from gas to diesel to hybrid to electric. That's what Ford's showing us. You could even say the future is eclectic. And global automakers are paying attention to this eclectic future, and they now are adjusting their manufacturing plans and have announced a shift to significant parts of their production to hybrid drivetrains. Drum roll, please. Why? Profit and consumer demand. On the profit side, hybrid vehicles carry an average of 2 to 3 percentage points more of value, that's profit, when compared to a traditional internal combustion engine vehicle. The other reason, consumer demand for hybrids is growing. And there's data to back that up from, like it or not, we all have to use it, Experian. Retail registrations of new hybrid vehicles rose roughly 11.5% through Q3 2024, compared to 9.5% through Q3 2023, according to Experian. So where does that leave these advanced versions of automated driving systems? In a very, very good place. In fact, the market for advanced versions of automated driving systems, what Goldman Sachs classifies as SAE Level 2, will grow from 20% of new global vehicle sales to roughly 30% by 2027. That's only 2 years away. Can you believe that? We're 2025. That's 2027. And this is great news for the market because the market is going to grow. That's right. The market for ADAS, highly advanced versions of an automated driving system, is going to grow. And now we got a really interesting data point here from Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports has reported that if buyers end up buying a vehicle that is equipped with adaptive cruise control, which is a form of ADAS, and they use it, there's the key there, and they use it, 90% of the individuals who use it report a high satisfaction rate. Wow, wow, wow. 90% that use it report a high satisfaction rate. Go back in the data 10 years ago. We know it wasn't that high. I'll leave that there for your own research, but I can tell you it wasn't that high. Could advanced versions of automated driving systems be the way consumers begin to become comfortable with higher levels of automation? Based on the data we have shared from Ford and Consumer Reports, one would think so. While the adoption is poised to be high, there's a business behind the scenes powering the growth of ADAS. During GM's Q2 2025 earnings call, GM disclosed that Super Cruise, which is their highly advanced version of ADAS, is projected to generate revenue of over $200 million in 2025. And here's the big one, set to double in 2026. With Super Cruise now available on 23 GM models with over 600,000 paying customers projected by the end of the year. Into the economics a little more. If a consumer is spending on average $2,500 for hardware, it's an option at the time of purchase on some vehicles, but I want to also clarify that some vehicles have it built in, but you don't necessarily get it for free. It's built into the price. And you have to pay $250 a year for the service after your trial period. One would hope that you like it. Perhaps the trial is used to get individuals accustomed to it. We're like, oh, I can't go back. I have to use this. And like it indeed, according to GM, over 40 million miles are driven every single month on Super Cruise. That's right. I got to highlight this again. This is big numbers. According to GM, over 40 million miles are driven every month on Super Cruise. That's why I had to say it twice, because that is an impressive number. And if that data holds and the pattern continues to go up and to the right, and GM continues, which they have publicly stated they will, add more compatible roads to the Super Cruise system, which currently stands over 750,000 miles, this market is only poised to grow. Ford BlueCruise is going to grow. GM Super Cruise is going to grow. Other OEM manufactured systems are going to grow. We highlighted GM and Ford because we have really great data sets that they've publicly released to the market. Now, let's pause for a minute. Let this data sit in. Digest this data. And I'm going to ask this question. If we look back in 2 years from now, it's 2027, or even 4 years from now, that's 2029. How do you view the market? Is the ADAS market still growing? Has the ADAS market stalled? Or has ADAS become so commonplace everybody thinks about it as driving? Will the market have doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled? Possible. Anything is possible. We're not going to make a prediction here, but we would love to hear your prediction. We would love to hear your thoughts on how you think the market for ADAS is going to grow. And while you're at it, let us know your experience with ADAS. Do you like it? Do your friends like it? Share your feedback with us. We'll discuss it on a future episode of SAE Tomorrow Today. I'll even do an Unplugged on it because I love to hear your feedback because ADAS is so important to the future of the automotive industry. So send us an email, podcast@sae.org. That's podcast@sae.org. Let us know your thoughts. I am super curious and I'm fascinated to read them. Today is tomorrow. Tomorrow is today. The future is a bright and vibrant ADAS market.
SAE International makes no representations as to the accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. The information and opinions are for general information only. SAE International does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast.